woman. She was mortified. Not worthy of love, too tall. My girl's right here. Can't finish, food makes everything better. For how long? Nobody wants you, not good enough, fat, pretty, smart. There's one of mine. Unworthy. This one got me today on the way here. Tried to creep back up. You don't look like everyone else. Thank you, Jesus. You're not important, you're unworthy, not good, ugly, fat, invisible. Wow. No one ever sees me. No one ever talks to me. No one responds to me. So many kids are growing up in this culture with this one right now because of these. Unlovable, worthy, wanted, illegitimate. Can't do it. I'm not good enough. Porky. Wow. Actually, I still kind of call my husband that because he's skinnier than I am. But anyway, fat, not good enough, and not that smart. You're smart, but you're not that smart. So what do we do with those? Didn't take you very long, did it? You pulled that right up right when I said it right here on that board. You pulled it up immediately. So your goal, if you're going to come back to the talk next time in March, or if you don't, just for your own benefit, is to make 2 columns, make a list. Don't be in a hurry, don't push it, don't dig too hard, but as they bubble up, write down the lies. What are the lies? Write them down. When you find the lies, go back and look for the truth. I don't know about you, but the only place I can find the truth is either with God or the people who really love me. That's where I can go find the truth. And then you write the truth out next to it. Don't just find it and let it slide. And they'll bubble up. They don't all come at once, okay? Because circumstances and a situation you haven't encountered in a long time will bubble it up and bring it up to the surface, okay? Okay, so let's move to shame. Probably the second biggest stick that you'll ever encounter in your whole life. Would you pass those out for me, Jamie? Thank you. Jamie's so sweet to help me. I appreciate it very much. I do all that I can get. So, Brene Brown, who's familiar with her? Raise your hand. Man, is she awesome? If you are not familiar with her, you need to get familiar. I only heard about her through Susie. And let me tell you one of my lies, okay? I've been doing counseling for about 15 years prior to whenever I closed the office. And it's lay counseling, so I'm self-taught. But one of my best friends has a master's in counseling. And so we are talking back and forth and juggling ideas and situations all the time. And we were talking the other day, and of course, not everybody looks at things the same because of perception, yes? So we were talking the other day about shame, because I was telling her we were going to talk about shame today. And I have taught shame the way I'm going to teach you today ever since I've been teaching shame, okay? And she remembered how I taught it, and she said, I think we differ a little bit on shame and a little bit on how you teach it, but I think it's just semantics, you know. Just an honest conversation. What immediately crept in? Can you guess? You know what one of my greatest regrets are? going to school, not going to college, not getting my degree in psychology. So the first thing that crept up was that old lie that says you're not enough, not quite smart enough. Was absolutely nothing she said. She absolutely loves me, just as I love her. But there it was. And as I kind of held it together, you know. Brene talked about that dig deep button. Well, there it was. I pulled it up and had that conversation and talked about semantics, tried to explain the way I look at it, and kind of, you know, finished that conversation. And boy, it was just there, just picking at me. Brene calls them gremlins. Kept coming back up. Shame kept coming back up. Well, she knows better. She knows that you probably ought to go back and study the way she's done it and present it her way. I've been doing this for 15 years. And still it creeps back up and will grab you. And I picked up Brene's book, opened up Daring Greatly. Just got that one in the mail. Hadn't read that one yet. Flipped open to the chapter on shame. Was reading through there, kind of half-heartedly, really. And there it was. This is why I am now loving this woman, because she validated me. But she did it almost exactly the same way, and she saw it through the same perception that I saw it. And so I love her. How many of you are doing her study right now? Anybody doing her study that they're doing? Jamie doing it? It's I wish I would have had time to do that. It's I'm sure very powerful. I love her. I love her language. She's like from Texas and says like bullshit and stuff like that. She's awesome. And but she's really great. But anyway, so I'm going to present shame to you. Shame keeps you from living out of your whole heart. I knew that was going to happen. Anyway, I'll put it back up in a second. It keeps you from living out of your whole heart, out of who you are. Because shame makes you afraid of being you. That's what it does. Somebody put up on the chart page the other day that if someone asked you to name the things you love, how long would it take you to name you? Wow. I had to think about that, and I think it would have probably taken me a long time. I don't think about that. It's like what I said earlier. As women, we kind of go immediately to everybody else and everything else that we love and we present, and that's meaningful to us. So, love and belonging. Comparison is one of the biggest tools of shame. In order to accomplish shame, it's almost impossible without the failure of comparison. When we compare ourselves constantly, we live in a world of comparison. I would venture to say that you compared when you walked in here today. Even if it's just for a second. Somebody's hair, somebody's shirt, somebody's shoes, how somebody looked. We do it all the time. The sad part is we do it without even thinking about it. We don't even have to use our brain to do it anymore. Comparison is one of the most dangerous things we can do. Brene says the only thing that separates people who feel lovable, who love and experience belonging, and those who struggle for it, is that the first believes that they are worthy of love and belonging. It must be cultivated.
Will you say that?
I sure will. The only thing that separates people who feel lovable, who love and experience belonging, and those who struggle for it, the first believes they are worthy of love and belonging. It must be cultivated. It just does not happen. And that's where your work comes in. That's what at Live Well Think they work so hard to do, is to help you cultivate that sense of belonging and being important and being worthy of it. That's what they work so hard at. Shame is a silent killer. So I'm going to use the right pen, and I'm going to draw you a little picture that you got there. You've all been studying and trying to figure out what I'm doing with that. Okay, you'll see on your paper that I have shame and guilt there. Now, one of the problems with shame is that in our culture, it is used interchangeably with so many words. This was my struggle. I also, the book that I use to teach my class at church is Dan Allender's The Wounded Heart for Sexual Abuse Victims. And he does an incredible job on shame. And he calls it, I disagree with him. In fact, when I teach that chapter, I separate a little bit on the verbiage that he uses, and then I've kind of put this together with some different things that I read. I'm what do you call those things when you steal everybody's ideas? That's what I do. And thank you. And it was a P. But so for the sake of what I'm going to teach you today, I want you to be able to separate the words shame and guilt. Okay? Now, Dan calls legitimate shame and illegitimate shame, and my little brain didn't like that, so I didn't go there. I don't have to, right? Okay, so shame versus guilt. Now, you'll see, I won't go to the struggle of writing it down, but you'll still see that I put ungodly guilt under shame, if that helps you out any. And then under guilt, I put conviction. Now, here's where my faith comes out. God, everything that God created, the enemy comes in and creates a counterfeit. Okay? Always. That's how he tries to win. Okay? So, when God created guilt, it was simply just to turn you when you started heading in the wrong direction. It was to bump you around completely out of love. That's what he does, everything in love. Okay? So when I yell at my husband, like I never do that. Let me pick somebody else. He's like real sweet. It's hard to yell at him. Kind of gets on your nerves. So, but if, and I really don't even yell, but we'll just pretend, well, I can yell at my son. So let's say if I yell at Mason and I turn around and I hear this little voice that says, "What a crappy mom." You think that's God? Nope, not God. What if I hear a voice that says, "You really shouldn't yell at him, you ought to just talk to him about it"? Yeah, that's the difference between these two. So if you want to take a little bit further, shame is the first letter of the word Satan. God is the first letter. G is for God, right? So that's an easy way to remember that one. Okay? So the first job you have, and all those things that you hear in your head as you go through life and you walk through things, is you've got to learn to distinguish what is being said. Brene says that shame hates when you talk about it openly. It does not like words wrapped around it. We don't like to say that we're shamed. We'll say we're embarrassed. We'll say I feel guilty. We'll say I was humiliated. If you look at those definitions, none of them fit into what this is. We're talking about shame. And shame says that you are defective. There's something wrong with you. Guilt says what you did, maybe not a good idea. What you did wasn't good. That's not okay. That's the difference. So you have to practice doing that. If you don't, you will never get out